What's up, everybody? It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. I'm looking real bright in here for some reason. I don't know if my light balance is off. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm looking real sunshiny today. So I'm just going to keep it that way because the sun is shining in my heart. Is it shining outside? I think it's trying to come out outside. But here's the thing. This is Tuesday, so it's time for the life of an entrepreneur. You know that. So as you come in, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to get ready. I'm going to ask you to prepare to take notes. We have a great guest every single week, every single episode. We have fantastic guests, and today is no different. So I want you to buckle up, strap in. I'm not going to I'm not going to prompt you too much. You already know what I have to say. You know that entrepreneurship is a journey and you need to enjoy the journey. So I need you to strap in. I need you to share this with somebody in your network. I need you to get ready to receive some gems, get ready to take some notes as we jump into this week's episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. Let's go. Hello, hello, hello. You are here with me hanging out for another episode of The Life of an Entrepreneur. We already got a side in the comments sending love. Listen, I receive it. Send it, send it, send it. I receive it. Thank you for being here. I am your host, Oliver Marcel. I am an author, speaker, and coach in the relationship building and men's enrichment spaces, with the sole goal being to do what's on my t-shirt. I say it every week on my t-shirt is 2020 before hindsight. There's so many things, so many lessons that I learned the hard way, so many things that happened that I was able to experience because I fell into some pitfalls. And my goal is to help at least one person get some level of clarity on the front end before they do something, say something, be something, become something, hang out with somebody that throws off the trajectory of their lives. I also wrote a book called Overcoming the Man Laws for the man who wants to be his best despite what he was taught. Listen, your boy would love if you would send me some love and support by grabbing a t-shirt. The link is in the description of wherever you're watching this video, and grabbing a book. You can find it on Amazon. We got a great guest today. And as you know, I always have something to say right before, and I'm going to keep it real short because I want to bring her on right away. We're talking to Elena Lafferty today, transformational coach, independent consultant. It's so many names. I listen. She's so many great things. I'm going to let her introduce herself. Performance coach and empowerment leader. So we're going to get to her in just a moment. Here's what I want to say to you today. I want you to think about this. I'm going to share with you a quote from a really, really great, great guy. As you can see, I set that up real well. Here's the quote. The quote is: leadership sometimes looks more like CEO. Nope, that's not the quote. The great guy would be, he wouldn't like that I messed up his quote. Leadership sometimes looks more like maintenance man than CEO. A really great guy said that in a book that he wrote. A really great guy said that. Leadership sometimes looks more like maintenance man than CEO. Now, I'm not going to take a whole lot of time to unpack that, but Oliver, what do you mean by that? As you're going through your entrepreneurial journey, and this is not just for entrepreneurs, this is for leaders in general. If you consider yourself to be a leader, you should probably think about this. There are leaders that they only lead with a top-down mentality. They only think about delegating. They don't think about creating synergy. They only think about other people doing tasks for them that will make them look good, but they don't think about building relationships. Sometimes there are some things that are some very grassroots maintenance kinds of things that a leader should be willing to do in order to see their team thrive. That's all I'm going to say about that. If you want to hear more about it, you got to get the book, Overcoming the Man Laws. But as you go through your experience, if you are responsible for others, if you are leading even in a kind of singular role, because I don't have a team, but I also lead in certain areas. And so there's some things that can't be beneath me, because me doing those things, showing those things, being that example is often a catalyst for growth within the organization. So, leadership sometimes looks more like maintenance man than CEO. So, sometimes you got to get down with the team. Sometimes you got to dig in the dirt so that they know how to dig in the dirt, and they will trust you that when they dig in the dirt for you, that you will have their back. A good leader does that. We got Verna in the house. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I got to bring Elena in. Hello. She's looking forward to hearing some great nuggets as always. And you are in for a treat, Verna. We got Elena Lafferty that is coming on in just a moment. And the reason why I said just a moment is because I'm giving you an opportunity to get your notepad out, to get your pen and paper, to get your smartphone, so that you can hear what Elena has to say. So I think Elena's ready. I can see Elena in the green room, smiling, ready to share her wisdom. And I got to get myself together so that I can welcome her properly. You know, we got to give folk applause and all that kind of stuff. So let me make sure I got my stuff ready to go. And then without further ado, we're going to bring on the phenomenal Elena Lafferty. Let's do that right now.
Wow, what
Elena,
a thank you.
how are you? Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking some time out to hang out with me today. It's great.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Indeed, indeed. Listen, let's jump in. Before we jump in, tell everybody who you are, because I know I shot out some names and some great titles. Tell everybody who you are and what you're passionate about doing.
Who I am. I think we don't have many names, no?
Yes.
I can start with I'm a woman. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. And many other things. But above all that, something I really love doing is working with people. It's my greatest passion. And yeah, as you said, independent consultant, star performance coach, intuitive mentor. And I got to this point through my own journey and unraveling who I truly am. And now I can help others to do the same and to tap into their highest potential and to their limitless possibilities.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And listen, we're going to talk about the journey that brought you to that, recognizing that passion, and then uh, your what brought you into your willingness to share that with other folks. We got Georgia Vargas in here with us. Georgia, how are you? It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. She said, yes, maintenance girl right here too. She understands that leadership has a maintenance component to it. So thank you for being here, Georgia. Let's go all the way back, Elena.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here and listen intently as you just share what was the journey that led you to the space that you find yourself in now.
The journey was my childhood. Everyone has a journey in their childhood. My one was quite interesting one. Um, since I was a child, I was very intuitive, and I would see things before they would happen, or I would get into the person's energy and I could sense it. But as children, we often don't know what to do with this information, so you just kind of observe and you store it. You like create a library in your mind that you can tap into later if you know how to do that. And my family was from the outside just a normal family. My parents were factory workers, and when they were young they started living with grandparents because at the time they couldn't have their own place, and it seemed to be okay. And my father and my mother would argue like people sometimes do. But after my grandmother moved out, the argument started to be more heated up, and my father started beating up my mother. So there started to be violence in the family. And because my mother was very far from her family, she was feeling very lonely and very isolated. And my father's mother didn't like her a lot because she always thought that my father could have found someone better than her. And that created a lot of tension and resentment. And I had two younger sisters and a brother. And we were living in this environment with constant scandals, arguments, and um, physical abuse. Through some time, there started to be bullying from the children that we would play with, and also because their parents would talk, and of course children always listen. I watch my son who's 4.5, and even sometimes you think he's not listening, he can hear everything you say.
Mhm.
So when we would play with these children, some bullying would come up, and we had to stand up for ourselves. So we started to we started to be bullies for bullies.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at some point you just start to fight for what's right, and you don't want people to hurt you, so you build your character.
Mhm.
And eventually my parents divorced because at school they noticed that we were constantly hungry, and school would provide food for us. So we would get like breakfast and lunches at school. There were no dinners. At the weekend, sometimes there was no food at all. And at that point, our mother started to leave us and wouldn't come home for a few days, then for a week, then it would be a couple of weeks, and then she just wouldn't come back
Mm.
because she couldn't stay in the environment where husband is beating her and she has all this children that are hungry, and she doesn't know how to support them, and she doesn't have support herself. So school committee came to visit us, and they were in horror to see what conditions we were living at, because there was no clean clothes, there was no clean bedding. um, the place wasn't clean either, there was no food. So it was decided that it's better if we're going to go to orphanage. And that's when the divorce process started between my parents. And my sisters and I, we started to live with our grandmother in a studio apartment because the apartment where we were living with parents went for sale.
Mm.
Um, and it was also a tough time because, you know, when you're a child and you are in certain circumstances and you just know that you can't change anything because you depend on adults, and you just have to thrive within the environment that you're in and just do your best to be your best. And we were always good at studying, so my sisters and I, we were um, never having problems with homeworks or just picking up on stuff at school. um, my brother, we took him to live with my mother's parents when he was 3 because he started to have some emotional issues
Mm.
and some skin conditions, like they were saying that it's like eczema, and because it was of the climate that he was in. But of course eczema can be also a result of internal worries
Mm.
that, and your skin just throws it all out. So my parents eventually got divorced a year later after it all started, and we supposed to go to orphanage. We were introduced to that. I remember walking through the place and thinking, okay, we'll be okay here. You know, you like kind of cheering up yourself. You see that the place is miserable, but you know that there is not much you can do about it.
Mhm.
And it was really cold. It felt empty and sad, and our grandmother got, she started to feel sorry for us. And since it was end of school year, she thought that she's going to take us for summer holidays. And while we were at hers for the summer holidays, the places got taken, so she had to keep us.
Mm.
And It was tough time again because government didn't help her, and it took a couple of years before she became our foster parents, and she would have to go to the town hall and to ask like for duvis for the winter because it was cold, and she didn't have enough money to buy duvis or even clothes for us. And there would be another rumors and bullying at school, like, oh, your grandmother is going and asking for everything for you, and like,
Mm.
what can you say to that?
Yeah.
Um, and my father died when I was 14, and I saw it coming since I'm intuitive. I had this feeling, and then I had a dream, and then there was some physical symptoms that I had as well.
Mhm.
My mother, she found someone, she was always looking for love. She was looking for someone who can support her because she could never, I think she could never find this love within her. And we were always taught with my sisters that the reason why it's all happened is because of her. And I did believe it for a very long time till I started working on myself
Mhm.
and I realized what has actually happened. And she died when I was 21 because the partner she was with, they were drinking together. So he sent her to get a bottle of spirit, but like to give money later, and she couldn't get it. So he met her on the street and he did beat her up and left her there to
Wow.
die. So when the ambulance got there and took her to the hospital, she didn't make it to the hospital. She died in the car. And that was her love story that she never was able to get. So through all my life, I was watching people trying to find something and not being able to do it, and also trying to find something outside themselves because we we often unable to look inside and to work through our stuff.
Mhm.
Of course we want love and it's normal. Of course we want interaction and it's normal because we do need it. We do need it to support us in a way. But the sad things happen when we don't get that support, when we feel so lonely and so lost that we don't know where to address it, how to address it, and how to get ourselves out of it. And my grandmother, she went through the Second World War and she was in the concentration camp. And I remember her stories about how it was there. And she was lucky because every now and then farmers would come there and they would pick the strongest ones of them to work on the farm. So when one of the farmers came and was asking her what she can do, and she was just telling me, I said yes to everything. I
Mhm.
couldn't do half of the things, but it didn't matter. I just wanted
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
So that's how she got out. And in her in her family there were a lot of broken stories, and it's only because, like, broken lives, and it's only because people tend to close in. And when we close in, we still think, and we think a lot. We have so many thoughts during the day, like throughout the day. And when we have no one to talk about, when we have no one to guide us out of it, that's when things start to change, not in our benefit.
Mm.
And yeah, I always was interested in working with people. I always had this pull, but because I was brought up believing that I need to get a job that brings bread on the table.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I supposed to be a tailor, like my grandmother was, and her entire family.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I did the first dress when I was 5, and then I learned it, and for many other, like many more years. But ever since I graduated as a tailor, I never did anything because yes, I know how to do it, but it's not my stuff.
Yeah.
I want to do something that brings me joy, and what brings me joy is working with people and watching how their lives transform.
Wow. That's an incredible story, man. That's incredible. And It reminds me of something that I just want to share with everybody who's watching. We saw Barry in the comments. Blessings from Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank
It,
you.
what I've learned through my experience and through talking to great individuals like yourself is that it's the recognition that there is purpose in pain.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, to that's a very tough pill to swallow when you're in the middle of pain. Because when you're in
Mhm.
the middle of pain, you're like, how in the world is there purpose coming from all of these experiences that I have experienced? Tragedy and abandonment and all of these different things that I've experienced. How could I find purpose in that? And Georgia, you're right. What a beautiful soul, right? Georgia said, "What a beautiful soul you are, Elena." And I want to take, because I don't want to keep you in that space, but coming out of that, right? Understanding that, okay, I've gone through all of these things. I was told I should be a tailor. That's not where my heart was. That's not where my passion lied. When did you discover that from all you went through, that your passion is now to help other women elevate past all of the stuff that could keep them down? When did you realize that?
I think when I was in corporate,
Okay.
in corporate world, and the relationship with my manager were at the beginning great because I was a new starter. And of course, she was interested in me performing well. But then it started to go downhill, and I started asking myself, why am I sitting here? Like, why do I have to eat shit from other people?
Hmm.
And I started looking for something else, and I found this training, and I tried this therapy before, and I knew the results were amazing. And I thought, I'm going to give it a try. And after the first training that I did, I handed my resignation
Wow.
because I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I knew what a potential there is behind it. Like, even for me to open myself fully in who I truly am,
Hmm.
and to serve people in a completely different way.
Wow. Now, what is the name of that training, if you don't mind sharing that?
So this was a theta healing
Okay.
training that I did, and it just helping you to tap into your intuition even deeper, and it's helping you to see the hidden games behind what we might think we believe. But of course, um, because I was intuitive since I was a child, as I mentioned before, for me it was just a big boost to see how far I can go,
Hmm.
like how far I can see into the person and into what's happening with the person, and what is it possible to do with it. Um, so yeah, it was just a one step for me to evolve in who I am.
Now, is that part of in because you do a wide range of things as it
Yeah.
relates to working with high performing women. You're in the wellness space as well in terms of coaching and the transformational spaces. So do you incorporate some of that thing that just sparked the light in you? Do you incorporate some of that training as well in what you do?
I do, yes, I do. But often for me, it's like when I start to talk to someone, within a first few minutes, I can see what's happening.
Mm, wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I guess that's good for you and for the client, right? Because
it is.
you can see right from the jump,
Yeah,
what the path is that you need to take. Or, and here's something for those you coaches out there, or that you should not be taking any path,
yeah.
because sometimes the best thing we can do for a client is recognize the fact that we're not the best thing for that client.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes, and that's tough sometimes, right? And I'm speaking from experience. That's tough sometimes, because when you're looking for clients, and you need to get clients because clients mean business, you kind of don't want to turn anybody away. But then as you really kind of get, and this is where you probably shine because of the intuition, is that you can see where a client relationship very early, where a client coach relationship may not be the best for the client.
Well, I always have a conversation prior I start working with somebody because we might not be a good match for each other. Why to waste each other's time?
Right. Yeah. And that's important. Listen, that is that's an important tip for folks who are in the coaching space, is that everybody isn't your client. And
Yes.
that's okay. It
Yeah.
really is okay, especially if you are in this because you are passionate about seeing transformation in people. Now, if you're in this just because you want to amass as many dollars as you can, then you'll take on everybody and you might not be able to help some folks. But if you're really concerned about transformation, which I know Elena is, there are going to be some people where you're like, wait a minute, this is probably not the best scenario for your well-being. And I think that that's important. Georgia said it can be tough to turn a client down, but when you know, you know. I agree.
Yeah.
And it is tough. It is tough. And I'm not going to make it seem like this is just some easy thing that we can just throw out there and you can just go by it, because it is tough sometimes to turn a client down, especially when you know that's going to help you financially, right? But if we're really trying to be, and I really want to stress this, if we're really trying to be transformational in what we do, whether it be coaching or any other industry, if we're really in it for service and we're really in it to make sure we see transformation in other people, part of that is knowing when that transformation isn't going to come through you because it's not a great match. So I love that. I love that. Listen, Elena, I want to transition into something because this show, and I didn't say this at the top of the hour, but this show is sponsored by Love Entrepreneurs. If you are not familiar, those of you who are watching this or watching the replay, with what Love Entrepreneurs is, it is a fellowship of people, business owners, entrepreneurs. The sole goal is to help ordinary people build extraordinary businesses, and they do it through something called the Big Fix. We're going to talk about what the Big Fix is in just a moment. Elena, you went through the Big Fix. I would love to hear what your reaction is, your response to going through that phenomenal experience. And we're going to do that in just a moment, right after we take this short station identification break. We'll be right back with Elena Lafferty.
Well, my name is Rob Howes, and I just had a fantastic session, Big Fix with Love Entrepreneurs, and we did some big fixing. We found some areas to actually take a look at and open up and discover. We discovered some opportunities to bring more attention to what we're doing. And so it was a really fantastic dialogue. I'm looking forward to putting these things I learned and heard and the ideas I got, putting them into practice. Because practice makes permanent. That's what I heard.
What is the Big Fix, you ask? The Big Fix is an opportunity for you to sit in front of a group of entrepreneurs across all industries, share your vision for your business, share any pain points you may have, ask any questions that you may have. And the sole purpose of the group is to pour in ideas, is to give you perspective, is to give you suggestions, is to share things that maybe we think may be beneficial to you building your business. And it's free. So everybody under the sound of my voice, watching it live, watching the replay, I am offering you an opportunity to come hang out with me in the Big Fix. Even if you don't sit in the hot seat your first time, even if you just come and contribute, it is there for you. Elena went through it as well. I went through it as well. And Elena, I want to talk about your experience with that in just a second. We get to some comments. Verna said, "You are correct. When in pain, it is difficult to see the purpose of it. The secret is finding strength in the unbroken peace." You nailed it. You nailed it. And it is difficult, right? And sometimes it sometimes it's about timing, Elena. And I know you know this. You could probably speak to this. Timing is so critical because there's something that you could say to somebody and it could be transformational for them. And it can also be extremely detrimental if you say it at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And I know with you, I know because of who you are, and we've had conversation before, and I've interacted with you. I know that you know that to be the case. And so and I'm saying that to say sometimes when they're in the midst of pain, you have to be strategic in how you bring them to purpose because it's hard to see it at that moment. And you could say something that could turn them completely off, or you could say something that could allow them to that could be a catalyst for hope that allows them to keep moving. So that is awesome. Vern also said when you let your client know you are not a fit for each other, they will respect and trust you. Awesome. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. And if we're trying to be people of integrity, that's something we should be concerned about. Barry said, such a great story. It is a great story, Barry. If we align our motivation with our purpose and then stay determined to add value through serving or even connecting others so they can serve, we will all benefit. Keep shining, Elena. You are an inspiration. You are an inspiration. So let's talk about the big fix. You experienced the big fix not too long
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Talk about that experience and what that was like for you.
Well, first of all, I didn't know what to expect. And it was a good thing. I think when you set expectations and you don't get it the way you want it, you kind of might get off the path and you kind of limit yourself to what can come up. Um, what I loved about it is that, well, the first of all, the people are just amazing. I love all the people that are there, and the areas, like they are all experts in their own areas, and to receive their insights and their thoughts, how they see that. Because when you work in your area, sometimes you don't know how to look to the other opportunities just because you might not have enough experience there or knowledge. For example, I do what I do, and my marketing skills might not be as great as someone who's at the big fix, and so on and so forth. So I loved how people were just jumping in and just getting all these ideas, and they genuinely wanted to help.
Mhm.
And the advice that I got from there, it was just invaluable. It was amazing. And the amount of the information, I never had anything like that, and I think it's so worth of doing it, especially for someone who either want to expand or feeling a little stuck or very stuck. Doesn't matter. It's such an opportunity to get experts from different fields who are great people, who are genuinely interested in seeing what other opportunities there might be for you. It's wonderful.
Yeah. It is. And I had the privilege of sitting in on Elena's big fix. And so I got to be a part of that experience and just see the plethora of suggestions that were coming in. And listen, I'm gonna tease you just for a little bit. We're good, right? So I can do this. I it looked like it was like overwhelming for a little bit in the beginning because it was so much kind of coming at you. But then here's what I noticed with you because of what you do, right? I felt like you immediately kind of snapped out of it. Like some people are overwhelmed for like a, the majority of those 2 days that they go through that experience. But I felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I could have been seeing it wrong, but I felt like at some point you were like, wait a minute, I'm gonna embrace all of this. Like I'm gonna take all this in and see where this goes. And that really helped with the experience because then you were able to you're now in the process of kind of going through the implementation of a lot of those things um that you were told. And that's what the great thing is with the big fix. The big fix gives you all of this information, gives you all of these tools, suggestions, and tips. You can do one of two things. You can go forth and be great, implement all of those things on your own. You'll actually get a report that has everything that was talked about in it. You can take that report, go forth and be great. Or you could take that report, and there are individuals like myself and Peter and others that are in the group that are then put in place to help with the implementation. And so you can do everything from business coaching to social media management to website creation if you need that, and marketing, everything else that you need that may have come out of that big fix, you can get from that group of individuals. Again, it's Love Entrepreneurs. Love Entrepreneurs is a group of business owners, great folks, as Elena said. So don't take my word for it. You just heard Elena said she loved everybody that was there. So don't take my
I,
word for it. Take Elena's word for it. A group of individuals, their sole purpose is to help ordinary people build extraordinary businesses using the big fix. So if you want to be a part of a big fix, all you have to do is send a message to me, whatever platform that you're watching this on, and just say, hey, man, you talked about that big fix the other day. I'd like to check it out, and I'll make sure that you're able to be there. Listen, Elena, I could actually keep you here for the next hour. Don't fret. I'm not going to do that. I know you're a very busy person. I'm not going to keep you for the next hour. There's so much that Elena does, and you know what? We may have to do a second interview at some point to really. I don't want you obviously to give away your proprietary information because we want clients to come and work with you. But there's so much. There's so many intricacies to how Elena does what she does, and the results are, they say you're not, as a coach, you're not supposed to give guarantees, but the results are eminent. I'll put it that way. Like there's certain things that if you work through this process with Elena, on the other side is transformation. Like it's not like maybe there will be transformation. Let me ask you a question, having said that, because I just set you up really big. I just put you on a big pedestal, right?
okay.
Here's what I want to ask you is the reason why I set you up so big. Why is it, without giving away too much information, why does that process that you take people through, why does it work so well?
Because I can see what they're capable of. I can see this strength and power within them that can shine into their life once they start working.
Mm.
Like the possibilities, they just open in front of them.
And you can see that as you begin to work with them. You can see where things could go if they would just put in the effort.
Of course,
Yeah.
yes. And
Listen,
I can see their good sides, and I can see their strengths, and I can see how it's possible to put in place so it will work in the best way for them.
I love it. I love it. And that, listen, that's a very strong quality of a good coach. The ability to see beyond what's right in front of you, the ability to separate the behavior from the person, the ability to see the capability in your client. That is something that's an outstanding quality that every coach should have. And I appreciate that you have that. That's awesome. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
So listen, I got two more things I need you to do, and then I
Okay.
promise I'll let you go. Two more things. The
Okay.
first thing is I'd like to get some advice from you. I ask every guest the same thing. Can you give some advice to someone who is thinking about jumping into entrepreneurship? And the second part of that is, can you give some advice to those of us who are already traveling that road, but we just need that little push to keep going? What do you have for us?
Okay. So for those who want to jump in, I'm sure that they have a big idea that lights them up. And as long as they're going to keep their course on this idea, I'm sure they're going to succeed without limiting themselves into the fears, as many of us do sometimes. And yeah, just to be open to receiving. And I think for those of us who already are in, it's also important to, I think one of the things that is important is to allow ourselves to receive help, because we can't do it alone.
Mhm.
And there are so many areas that we can use help of other people. Um, you know yourself, like marketing or automation, or I don't know, personal assistant or virtual assistant. There are many people that can help us. And as long as we allow ourselves not to be a solo player in our own business,
Mhm.
it's gonna be a lot easier to grow it.
I love it. You kind of gave that advice actually works for both groups of people. You
It
know,
does.
yeah.
Yes.
We
It's
we need
all in
to yeah, right. I love it. See, a good coach can truncate. I love that. Good stuff.
one.
Good stuff. And I saw George's comment and bring out the best in them, talking about your clients and understanding how to do that. That's great. Listen, if you want to connect with Elena, you can connect with Elena if you go to the description of the video wherever you are watching this right now. You will see where you can connect with Elena on LinkedIn. Now, Elena, they can also connect with you where else?
On Facebook. It's my name and surname, so they can find me as Elena Lafferty on Facebook as well.
Make sure you're connecting with her. If you are a now your niche is high performing women, correct?
Yes,
Do you work with men at all?
I do. Of course, I do. Just
Okay.
because majority of my clients are women,
Mhm.
doesn't mean I don't work with men.
Okay, excellent. And the reason why I asked that is because of what I'm going to say next. Georgia said, "And don't do it alone." And that's great advice. Don't do it alone. Now, listen. If you are looking for transformation in your life, whether it be from the executive level to the personal development level, the person you see on your screen, whose name is Elena Lafferty, is the person you should be getting in contact with. All right. You heard her story. You know that she is in tune with the process of moving through pain and getting the performance, the passion, and the purpose out of that elevates you to the next level. You heard it. It's in her story. She's living proof that it happens. Why would you not want to align yourself with somebody who could get you to that same space? So, Elena, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some time out. I got to give you another round of applause. Got to do it.
Thank you to you, Oliver, for having me here
Indeed,
and for
indeed.
a great conversation.
Phenomenal conversation. And listen, don't go anywhere. I'm going to put you backstage just for a second. I want to close the show and then I'm going to have a few words with you afterward briefly. But thank you again so much. Make sure, you guys, that you are connecting with Elena. Set up some time to have a conversation with her and a consultation and get in the programs that she provides, because you can see the result just in the coach. What better coach to have than somebody who has lived and walked and achieved what you are living, walking, and want to achieve? So thank you so much for that. We'll talk in just a moment. Okay. That was Elena. I told you. I told you it was going to be great. And as of so far, I have not been a liar. So there you have it. It was great. We got Damon Braxton in the house. My guy Damon, is always good stuff. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Thank you for being here as well. I appreciate your support and showing up for me, man. That's dope. Listen, we're gonna close this out. Make sure you connect with Elena. And I want to stress this again. Quite often, there's purpose in your pain. I know that's tough if you're in pain right now, in whatever area of pain you might be experiencing in your life. Elena is a key example of the fact that purpose can be birthed out of pain. Also remember that as you are leading, that you need to lead in a way that does not make you look like you're just a top-down dictator, but allows your team to now engage and trust in you. Because as a great man once said, leadership is sometimes looks more like maintenance man than CEO. Listen, I'm Oliver Marcel. Again, this is another episode of Love Entrepreneurs, the life of an entrepreneur, sponsored by Love Entrepreneurs, which is a group of people who their sole goal is to help you build an extraordinary business. They do it through the Big Fix. If you want to experience a Big Fix, even if you just want to sit on the sidelines and listen in, let me know. The Big Fix is free for you to participate. That's another episode of Love Entrepreneurs. As I always say, the life of an entrepreneur is a journey. You need to enjoy the journey. And these episodes give you tips, tools, and advice and suggestions to help you enjoy the journey. We'll see you next week.